Hello and welcome to the video of me making my custom effects pedal board. So I was the brand new owner of several inexpensive effects pedals, and it was time I found them a home to keep them together. In this video I am sharing how I made my custom effects pedal board. Come with me on a journey, encountering a jigsaw, draw files, drills, and screws to make something I needed instead of paying for it. Making an effects pedal board is as easy or as hard as you want it to be. I designed this pedal board based on a guitar-shaped board that I had cut out to be used for practice spraying a sunburst for my Squire Sunburst project. It had been coated with polyurethane when I was testing an electric spray gun, and was lucky that it fit the amount of pedals that I have. I had used my jigsaw to keyhole cut where I wanted the cables to go. If I followed a more traditional design with wooden slats, I could have just used a handsaw to cut the lengths of wood required before screwing them together, and that's the minimum anyone really needs to do to make a pedal board. I like to do things my own way, and when you accidentally create something that resembles a guitar body and it has run out of uses elsewhere, its next purpose would be something decorative. It might have also made a nice clock face. I judged the angle of the riser by eye, and cut an angle that I thought was right. The riser just needed to be high enough off the floor so that the cables could run underneath, but I also thought it should be angled. The base piece was an offcut from another project, and I used it to determine how far apart the sides of the riser would be. I was lucky that where they had to be located turned out to be quite suitable. When testing the locations that I had cut out with the cables connected, I found that one of the connectors was pulling two of the pedals up on an angle. Longer cables would have been a solution, but I had already bought a pack of pre-lengthened cables. I just made some alterations to the shape of the holes to let the pedals sit more naturally without forcing the Velcro to do too much work. Because of where the sides of the riser pieces were to be located, I had to cut out some channels in them for the cords to pass through underneath. When I first cut these riser pieces out, they were not perfectly aligned, so I felt I had to resize them, even though they are probably not going to be seen. On these types of projects where I need something for functionality, I don't take the extra time to put in the finer detail into the way everything looks, especially if it isn't going to be seen. I thought I would try my new electric sander to straighten up these edges, but it really didn't do the job too well. So I drew a new cutting line and hit the jigsaw again to shave back a straighter line. At this point, I should have lowered the angle of the riser. After using this board for a while, I have found that because of this angle, the board slides away from me when I stomp on a pedal. If there was a lower angle, there would be less or no backwards force being applied to it. If this was 7 degrees, I should have dropped it to about 4. That's just what happens when you make things on the fly and don't put any research and development in. In future, if I get too frustrated with it, and installing rubber feet doesn't help, it would not be too much of a modification to the side pieces to resolve this issue. Ignoring that, this is still a valid project. It is custom to the point where the shape and size of the board was a constraint as well as a feature. I don't expect anyone to make this particular pedal board, I just thought it would be a unique idea to hold down the few pedals that I have. If I was to repeat this project, it would be an oversized guitar-shaped board to accommodate more pedals, and it would look almost like a standard rack with the body shape added to the left and right sides. If anything, a viewer might pick up some tips and tricks with woodworking in general, just from watching what I am doing to assemble this contraption. I just happen to have some screws that I removed from a project that I painted black. It was fitting that they were already painted, just like the board. I had to cut out an upcoming scene where I had a bit of a boo-boo with the drill and my thumb when I was reversing one of the screws out of the board. For those that want to know what they missed out on, the screwdriver bit went right into the corner of my thumbnail with the weight of the drill on it while it was still spinning. Sorry about that, folks, but even if I left in what happened, it just looks like the bit bounced off the screw and there was no blood or anything until I was off camera. As you can see now, I am keeping my hand well away from the area of operation. That almost completes the assembly, but I did want to add a hole at the base, just in an effort to reduce the surface area and be less slippery. So if anything, this is an example of how you can misuse a jigsaw blade to cut round corners, kind of like a grinder. This material is MDF, and I find it the most manageable material when using a jigsaw, files, sandpaper or most other shaping tools. So the idea was that the base would just be an outline, but adding feet and reducing the angle will be steps I can take to resolve any issues with it sliding around on the carpet when I stomp on the pedals. Now that I've removed the marking tape, you can see how the border was already coloured and lacquered, but I didn't bother wet sanding it smooth and repolishing it. So I learnt that adding heat to the adhesive when sticking down the Velcro increases the sticking effectiveness. I might give a shout out to the video where I learnt that tip in the description if that's allowed. If not, I'll share his channel. The other step was to remove all the plastic feet so they don't obscure the Velcro strips. After a while, my fingers were feeling a little bit roughed up from pushing down the Velcro strips, so I used the backing from the adhesive strips between my fingers and the Velcro I was rubbing down. It helped a lot. Almost done now, and I'm just plugging in the cables for the first time since the Velcro had been added. In case you can't see the flow of my pedals, I start with a tuner, then distortion, before the compressor, and then the delay, and then the chorus. They are all cheapies, and even the DS1 now only sells for $70 Australian. So here it is in its working environment. Any changes would to be add rubber feet and change the angle of the riser and maybe some paint around the raw areas while I'm at it. Thank you for watching, and until next time, have a bloody good one.